Mhm.
Okay, we're on.
Yep.
You can give it a try. Okay, I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Fraser Park Public Utility District. This is the regular meeting agenda for Thursday, October 10th, 2024, starting at 4 o'clock, actually, according to my phone. And we have additional teleconference locations at 1640 Hilltop Drive in Redding, California, 96002. And even though he's not here, at 138 North Hubbard Avenue, number 16, San Fernando, California, 91340. Okay, item number 1, call to order. We're going to start with the pledge to the flag. If everyone could please outstand. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, roll call of directors. Director Gibson.
Here.
Director Nyman.
Here.
Director Kelling.
Here.
Director Garcia is absent. I'm Director Schoenberg and I am here. So that is 4 out of 5. We do have a quorum. We're going to go on to item number 2, discussion vote adjust agenda if necessary. I don't know if there's anything that needs to be adjusted on the agenda. I think possibly the record retention, since we don't have 4, 5.
I make a motion that we table the record retention until the next regular meeting in November.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Okay, so I have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Roll call directors, Director Gibson,
Aye.
Nyman,
Aye.
Kelling,
Aye.
and Schoenberg is an aye, and Garcia is absent. That motion passes 4-0-0-1 absent. And is there anything else that needs to be?
D,
As
is
far as
there,
I know, we have the closed session.
D, do we need to do the closed session? Yes?
Yes, yes, we do.
Okay, we'll go
Okay.
briefly in the closed session, and I think everything else should be okay, correct? Okay, then moving on to hearing nothing else, item 3, public comments. These are for items not listed on the agenda, limited to 5 minutes. Are there any public with comments on items not already on the agenda? If you have a comment on an item on the agenda, you can just speak up at the time when we're discussing that item. This would be for something that's not on the agenda. Okay, hearing none, I'm gonna move on to item 4, report of officers. We'll start with the president, that's me. I did sign a couple of different things. What the heck did I sign?
The amendment,
I signed the amendment for
the meter well,
the meter well project, so that's signed.
and don't leave without signing the planning fund amendment.
And I need to sign something else, and I thought there was something else too. So, yeah, so I've been signing things. And also I, went over some, financial stuff, but
keep
we'll
going.
talk about that in financials. So, Vice President is absent. Secretary,
Nope, haven't. I signed some probably a week ago. I think I signed some minutes, so that's it.
okay, Treasurer,
I have nothing. You guys did the AP, so I'm
We'll talk
Interested in
about it.
that.
We'll talk about it financials.
okay, and JPIA representative.
Nothing.
All right, thank you, everyone. On to item 5, unless there's any questions. Item 5, board member initiatives. Do we have any board member initiatives?
No.
Okay, hearing none. Moving on to item 6, the manager's report. We'll start with our manager, Mr. Allison.
Yeah, we got in some of the meters, that's the line item technically, but it's not the project, so we got the meters in, we're starting to put them in now. Got the 1-inch meters in, One of them came defective without a pin in it, so we had to nail them back already, but they're under warranty. We haven't had any major leaks this last month. We did have some inline breaks, but they weren't catastrophic, so that was good. Our nitrates got up to 9 point. It said 10.0, tripped the well. So I had to reach out to Jesse, and then, we had to take a nitrate sample down. The lab said it was 9.9, so it was off by 0.1, but now it dropped back down to, 0.97, back the way it was, so.
What is causing this to go up like this?
I think they're running it, right now, things are slowing down, so now when the well kicks on, it's been sitting there for a full day. And then it trips the nitrate, and then after it flows, then the nitrates drop down again, so it was actually beneficial to us when it was running 2 or 3 times a day, because it kept the water fresh. So that's just what we're continuing with, but he said that we're not in violation and to just continue monitoring, and doing what we're doing.
Okay, and do we think there still might be an issue with like the septics that are close by there?
Well, wherever the nitrates are coming from, absolutely, we still have an issue with that, but there's no way to determine where that's coming from.
And that's not something that's affected by the animals that are close by at the property?
Animals are, I mean, technically, if you
They
had,
wander the
if
whole.
you had animals penned in, from the way I understand it, right over the well, maybe eventually that would do it, but it would have to soak through 50 feet of sanitary seal to get to it, so I seriously doubt it's that. And the animals, I never see any animals just hanging out over near there. All the animals are penned, and the goats walk around and all that stuff, the cows, but none of them hang out next to that fence over there, so
No,
it's coming from septic
somewhere in the
or whatever.
middle. Okay,
And everything is uphill from there,
okay.
so that's our, part of our problem, it could be anybody's.
Yeah.
Okay, are there questions for Johnny on that? I know that we need to bring up, maybe I don't think we'll bring it up tonight, I'll wait till there's all the board members. About the assets and where we wanna
Yeah.
put stuff.
Yeah.
Is there administrative assistance report or questions for Johnny?
This month I did a pretty big, record request from a place called Open the Books. They hit every single special district annually, so it's a normal one. They just wanted some new information this time. Took a long time because I had to redact some information from the request. Worked on a record subpoena, had nothing to do with us specifically, other parties, somebody needed some information. So that went to the attorney to kind of sort through and let us know what we had to provide.
And you're doing the lead inventory as well.
I finally got sick of the one at a time, and I found a way to bypass so it's going much faster now, so I'm halfway through the thing,
Good.
and it's gonna go really quick.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
taking a lot
put that in
of our
Concord.
time up. We have to list it even if the service lines, which they all are unknown. Yeah, apparently Biden is earmarked $2 billion to replace lead service lines over the next 10 years or something, but whatever.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I just heard that from somebody else. It could be trillion, but who knows? Who knows what it is, but
It's not gonna.
it's not gonna happen anyway. With their national deficit, they're not gonna do lead pipes, but that's what they make us do. And all the small water companies have to do this, even though we don't know when everybody's houses were built or if it was pre-lead ban law or any of that stuff. So we can't just write a statement saying we don't know, which you should be able to do. Everything needs to be replaced. You can't do that. We have to list every single account, meter number, the address, meter serial number. There's just so much stuff, and it's a spreadsheet that's like this long. Well, your monitor's this big, so you got a tab go all the way over. It's very time consuming, so she's been dealing with all of that to make it happen, so.
Sounds like fun.
And then when that comes back, then they'll make us send out a letter to everybody, so we'll have that as well to mail out.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? Okay,
Sorry to
thank you.
interrupt
Any questions in regard to that or anything else? Okay, item 7, standing committee reports. We're gonna start with the accounts payable committee.
Well, we met, we'll talk about it during, we'll talk about all this during the financials.
Okay, state update meeting committee. Next week.
Next week.
Okay, quarterly financial committee, we have not met, recently. I think we're,
It's coming up, so that's why I put it back on.
okay, where is that? When is that?
The 15th?
Okay, so, we'll be meeting twice in October, or October and November, beginning of November.
It's the 15th, and then if you need it, the 29th.
Okay, and that's to go over the beginning of the Julys,
I think it's,
24?
third quarter financials.
Okay, we'll figure that out when we.
Should be
when we
first
meet.
quarter.
Huh? I thought
Wouldn't
it
it be
was
first
first
quarter?
quarter.
Because we
Well,
finished,
it's kind of a calendar. We've been tracking it by calendar year, so it's third quarter by calendar year or first quarter by fiscal year.
Okay, well, that will happen on the 15th. I'm gonna make sure it's in my phone. Okay, any questions on that? On any of the committees, standing committees? Okay, how about the ad hoc committee reports, the project committee,
We have not met.
the, financial committee? Again, we haven't met. So, I don't think there's anything with the ad hocs, on the financial business. Item number 9, discussion vote on accounts payable and financial information. I will turn this over to Deborah to start.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, so we'll start with the meter well account. We issued 7 checks for a total of $565,093.95. The extraordinary disbursements, there was a disbursement to D. Jasper in the amount of $31,006. And there was another disbursement to D for $33,417,058. A disbursement. Hello?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Disbursement to self-help for $292,510.70. A second disbursement to self-help for $207,489.30. Now on to the planning account. We prepared 7 checks for a total of $36,649.72. The extraordinary disbursements include a disbursement to D in the amount of $19,178.61. A second disbursement to D for $3,689. A third to D in the amount of $3,440.35. And there's a disbursement to Tom Dodson for $7,737.76.
Except that we're holding the Tom Dodson right now, and we'll need to discuss that when you're done with everything.
Okay. So then we're on to revenue operating. We prepared 30 checks in the amount of $62,837.38. A disbursement for employee benefits to JPIA for $11,733.90. Let's see. I had to move to another list and I've kind of lost my place. Okay. A disbursement to California Parking and Highway for $3,700. Disbursement to Ferguson Enterprises for 2 invoices totaling $12,740.37. A disbursement to Edison for $9,321.75. and a disbursement to Young Woolridge for $10,106.13. And that covers extraordinary disbursements.
Okay,
What about the meter well disbursements?
she did that in the beginning.
Oh, I missed the 300. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I
Good.
make a motion that we pay our bill.
Before we do that, we need to discuss the Tom Dodson check. Or you need to exclude that from your motion.
Well, I don't have to exclude it from the motion. Okay,
Yeah,
go
you
ahead and
do.
discuss it. Go ahead.
Okay, so, I called Tom Dodson, we owe for, the project, the planning projects, it's the environmental, initial environmental costs. It turns out that neither D nor, the water company currently has a contract with them for that project. We have contracts with them for other projects. So I discussed with Tom that we should probably just do a contract with him, although I need Dee to answer to that as well. I don't know if, did you ever discuss anything with him, Dee? I called him, the other day on, Tuesday when we were doing the AP.
Yeah, Tom and I talked yesterday. And so he's supposed to, it's okay with me. However we do this, Tom is aware that the big thing I think is, and we're all aware of it, but I wanted to make sure that Tom's aware that, the state is just extremely slow in paying. And so that, when he does this work, there may be times when, he gets 90 days out or so. And he's aware that he's done this work for a long time. And he said he understood. And so any contract that we sign will, between Tom and I will be, pending being paid from the state so that we can pay.
My issue, Dee, and I'm gonna ask Carlos this, is that because we already have a contract with the state for all this stuff and we did not do a contract with him, I wanna make sure that we're reimbursed. It's gonna end up being like $100,000 worth of charges. The current charge is 7,000 something. And I'm concerned, I believe okay if we need to sign a contract from the water company, but we need to make sure, because normally I think you would be a subcontractor of you, and I don't know, Carlos, how to deal with that, and we may need to talk to Ruben. I just wanna make sure that we're reimbursed. So whatever we do, we need to be reimbursed. So Tom was willing to wait until next month's meeting in order to, or the next meeting, maybe the end of the month, but he was willing to wait till after the state update meeting to make sure that we're good, however we do it. But do you know, Carlos, what, if there's, I'm just concerned about repayment. Are you there, Carlos? You're muted. Hello, Carlos? I don't know if Carlos is there or not. It's definitely a concern and we need to resolve it. So I asked Tom if we could hold, we cut a check, but we can't really pay a check without knowing we're going to be reimbursed for it. So, we need to figure that out. And like I said, Tom was really gracious and was fine waiting until the next meeting after the state update meeting, the next board meeting. However, I was hoping Carlos could weigh in on it, but I don't know what's going on.
Was this something that was supposed to be paid through CTA? I'm just curious.
No, this is, so it's under the Lake of the Woods when we did our grant, we have $100,000 that's for environmental.
CEQA, et cetera.
CEQA and all that stuff. And so that's in the budget. However, we never had a contract. And so usually the state,
So,
are you there, Carlos?
yeah, muted, I don't know what's going on.
Are you having problems with your audio? We can't hear you, Carlos.
If it's something that's
I mean,
allocated in your budget, that shouldn't be a problem with you guys being reimbursed for that.
Okay.
Well, we don't know though. Is it in the budget as a subcontractor where D needs to bill him, or is it in the, or do we bill him directly, and in which case we need to sign a contract? I mean, does he bill us directly is what I meant, dyslexic.
One thing that I might add, Tom is going to send some information to me on Monday regarding, the budget and the different items that, he's covering in the CEQA. And so, we have yet to talk about that.
Well, I mean, we're kind of in a holding pattern here. So, I mean, we need to have,
So I would say that we.
because I want Tom to get paid, okay? And we've transferred the money into the meter well, but I don't want to release a check if we don't have a contract, and then we're gonna have a problem later with the state. That's my problem.
You mean for the planning project, not the meter well?
For the planning project.
Planning project. Yeah, he did not transfer to the meter well, that was not correct.
I transferred it to the planning.
Hey, can you guys hear me now?
Yes,
Okay, yeah, it will be reimbursable, but you guys will need to have a contract. Either you guys have the contract with Tom or Tom needs to have a contract with D as a subcontractor.
right, I'm not sure how that got by, without somebody having a contract, but we definitely don't, so. Okay, should we discuss it just to make sure with
Well-
Ruben at the state update meeting?
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah, if it's not 100% clear yet, yes, but there won't be a problem. But somebody got to have the contract with Tom.
So I'm gonna recommend that we, in the motion that I entertained, the motion that director is going to make, that we hold his check until after the state, until the next or the next board meeting, the second board meeting, so that we can discuss with the state
Mhm.
and get a contract signed.
I think that's a good idea. Tom and I we'll have a meeting on Monday or Tuesday and discuss scope and, some of the details. We'll have a little bit more.
I make a motion that we pay our bills, that we hold the Tom Dodson and Associates check for $7,737.76 until the next regular meeting, where we have a resolution of the contract. And if we need to, depending upon who does the contract, we'll make the check out to either Tom Dodson or we'll directly, or it'll go to D Jasper and then he will pay Tom Dodson.
And so that needs to be added on the agenda, I believe.
Okay, hold on,
just to
hold
make
on.
sure.
I second it.
Oh, what are you gonna add? Oh. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call directors, Director Gibson,
Aye.
Director Nyman.
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Okay,
Director Schoenberg is an aye, and Director Garcia is absent, so that motion passes 4-0-0 with one absence. We will pay our bills and hold the check for Tom Dodson until the next board meeting, or until it's resolved. It should hopefully be.
So we're gonna have him put it in the safe.
And can we add that to the agenda, under
And
the planning?
Yeah.
Okay, so
because it's all signed.
moving on, unfinished business.
Okay, no, we're not done.
Okay.
So-
So you have transfers.
So since the treasurer is out of town, we received, claims 41 and 43 and 44, and claim 28. So I made some transfers. I transferred from the planning account to revenue operating, $433.34 for board fees off of claim 41. I did the same for staff recovery, claim 41 for $52. Then I also transferred from the Lake of the Woods planning account to the revenue operating for claim 43 board fees in the amount of $566.66, staff recovery cost of $53.04. Then I also made a transfer from the planning account to revenue operating for claim 44 in the amount of $466.60 and $26.52 dollars for staff recovery costs. I also made a transfer from revenue. I believe it was from revenue operating. I don't have the actual transfer in front of me, to the planning account for the Tom Dodson and Associates for $7,737.76.
I thought you made it to planning, and then what's the check? Is there a planning check or? is
No,
it-
it's a planning check.
So you made a transfer to planning?
Yeah, well, yeah, but I don't know if I took it from revenue operating. I think I might have. We'll have to look at, you'll have to look and you verify that, Tiffany, because it either came from the long-term,
Took it from the general fund.
not sure about that. I know, so then the other thing is, we had received back the money, from when we had paid Gruff to cover Gruff's, progress payment 4. We received, so I transferred from the meter well, $29,374.30 to the general fund, back to the general fund. Then, from, the revenue operating fund, I transferred to the meter well $222.87 because to cover a Young and Woolridge invoice that was ineligible under claim 28, which will be apparently resubmitted once Oscar gets all the information. But we're paying that invoice, so we transferred that money. Then I also made a transfer from the general fund to make sure we cover our payroll, to cover all these checks. $20,000 went from the general fund into the revenue operating fund to cover all our expenses, to make sure that we have enough money in the account, because figuring what we had left, we only had like 16,000 or something like that left in the operating account. And
Payroll was.
And payroll's coming up next week, so I wanted to make sure that we were not short, so we transferred money over to make sure that we're covered.
We also went over the monies due because it's October and our loan is coming up as well as our interest. And Director Nyman and I went back over, that spreadsheet that I made, which was very helpful because it made it much faster. And we checked all 3 loans to make sure in October, like I said, we're paying both the principal and the interest for each loan. And so I added those all up.
And that was like
And
116,000 and we have 142,000.
Right, so we have about 25,000 in excess of that, so we should be fine. At the point where they take money out, we'll then transfer money.
Well, we'll have to review what we have coming out for the year to make sure that we're gonna have enough to cover for the April. And so we may or may not transfer money depending upon, and
And April's interest only.
yes, and April is interest only.
And I don't know, we also need to transfer money out, we'll have to do that, I don't know if Terry will be back, if not, then we may need to do it at the next AP meeting, but we also need to transfer monies out of the, just in October, after the 15th, we're supposed to check the replacement and reserve accounts, and if there's excess in there, or it needs more in there, then we need to fix those, but I believe we looked at it recently and everything looked okay. But if there's excess, we need to transfer the excess out back to our operating revenue,
You're talking about the reserve.
the reserve and the replacement. Yes.
Well, the replacement is not gonna change because we're short on the replacement. It's the reserve is the only one that,
Well, we're not short on the 9,000, on the replacement for loan 9, that's correct. It's just, loan 6. It's just the replacement for 3 and 4, but yes. So the reserve accounts are the basic ones we need to look at.
yes. And so that's it for
Okay, any other questions, comments? Yes, Joan?
Question, I'm having trouble following. You were putting money into the long-term CIP and you were putting money into the short-term CIP, but I think last month you said you're not gonna do that anymore because you need to put it into operating. Am I following correctly?
We're not
No.
putting it into operating, we
corrected the replacement
Right,
amount. And then we put in an excess amount because if it was incorrect, we're putting in extra money.
and are you still doing that?
We're
And
still
that-
doing
That's on a
that,
regular basis, yeah.
But we are
every month.
not putting money into the
CIP.
CIP. And we were putting money into the general fund, we're still doing that, but we also took money out of the general fund, so the general fund is depleting and depleting and depleting, even though we're putting money into it. But we are not putting money in the short, are we still doing the short term?
I would have to look at the accounts. I can't tell you off the top of my head.
I don't think we're doing the SLA or the capital right now because we're.
But I know we're not
depleted.
doing long-term. We're not
Yeah.
doing, I know for a fact we're not doing the
What
long-term.
we're waiting for is the, and we're in the middle of that process, is the, it'll come up in the agenda, but the standby fees, once we are able to put that to a vote and start collecting, more than $5 a year on the standby fees, we should be back in, a normal flow of things. But right now, we've had quite a bit of excess money we've been needing to pull out and no way to really cover it. So it's slowly depleting the general fund or quickly. Any other questions? Okay, so I think Deborah, I don't think we have anything else for you if there's no other financial questions.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you.
Okay,
Have a
thank you,
good
Deborah.
evening. Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you. Bye.
Only on that, Deborah and I have been sending a bunch of stuff to Scott for the audits. I know
And-
she's been working a lot.
And we'll see you on the 15th for our financial standing committee.
Yes, I'll be there.
Okay. Okay, so moving on to unfinished business. We're gonna go into a closed session. Hopefully it doesn't take very long. I'm going to start with the oral announcement prior to going into the closed session. Joan's still good until I'm done with that oral announcement, and then we'll have to ask her to hang out outside or somewhere, which she's not in the meeting. Okay, oral announcement prior to closed session, Government Code 54957.7A. A representative of the legislative body to orally announce the items to be discussed in closed session prior to any closed session meeting. Item 10, closed session pursuant to Government Code 54957, conference with legal counsel. Existing litigation, Government Code 54956.9D1. Fraser Park Public Utility District versus CNC Elite Properties LLC et al. Kern County Superior Court, case number BCB-24-100199. Item 11, closed session pursuant to Government Code 54957. Conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Government Code 54956.9D1. CNC Elite Properties LLC and Hacienda Salcedo Inc. versus Fraser Park Public Utility District. That is Kern County Superior Court case number BCB-24-101972. Additionally, in closed session, item 12, pursuant to Government Code 54957, conference with real property negotiators, Government Code 54956.8, in regard to properties 256, parcel numbers 256-070-54, 256-070-55, and 256-520-13. Agency negotiators Lisa Schoenberg and Burma Nyman and D. Jasper. Negotiating parties Jeff French and Emily Wainwright. Under negotiation, price and terms of payment. So at this point, we will go into a closed session, and the time right now is 4:36.
Okay, 1 second, while 4 o'clock.
Okay.
Have a good night, Corey.
See you later.
Right.
Sure, after we get that.
Okay, so I go get
Yeah. Well, no, no, so it says two. Come on in, Joe.
I'm logged in over there. I have to, I was gonna show you guys an Excel spreadsheet, but this doesn't have Excel, so I wouldn't be able to open it. So I'm gonna share my screen with her.
well, we don't even have Excel on there.
No,
Okay, so we're coming back from our closed session. The time is 4:53. Oral announcement following closed session, Government Code 54957.1A. The legislative body of any local agency shall publicly report any action taken in closed session and the vote or abstention on that action of every member present thereon. We did not have any action in the closed session. It was informational only, and so there was no vote. So we will go ahead and move on now to item 13, which is discussion vote update on Fraser Park Lakeland Wood Consolidation Planning Project. 13A, discussion vote review of the project timeline. That is sitting with Ruben right now, and it was mentioned that we that timeline may change based on the litigations. So we will have to wait and see what happens in respect to that. So, but we do have a timeline with Ruben at the state presently. Is there anything to add to that, Dee?
No, that's it. That's exactly it.
Okay, item 13B, discussion vote on the project budget, same thing. The budget is pretty tied to the timeline. We do have the budget in with Ruben at the state. And I don't think we can move forward on that.
We'll find out in the meeting where he's at on his supposed memo to amend the contract. And that, I mean, that's really what this all comes down to.
Right, but none of it can happen until we have some other things that resolve as well, so
Yeah, the,
I think we're.
just to pass on, maybe a little bit of information that Ruben and I talked about today. He is routing the budget through his management. He, says there have been no hangups so far on the budget. He would have heard if somebody had, had an issue with it. So far, it's been, moving forward. He said, he would probably be able to get it approved within the next week or so, but then, we couldn't execute the revised
Cancel.
estimate until we get possession of the property. So it's moving, and the key will be getting possession of well 8.
So we're in a holding pattern. Okay, item 13C, discussion vote on acquisition development of well 8 and 9 property. That was discussed in closed session. We're not able to move forward on that until some other things occur. So there's really nothing else to talk about there, correct? You said there was something that you wanted to talk about in open session. What was that? I can't remember, Dee.
Yeah, no, nothing, just,
On the-
yeah, nothing on this.
Okay, 13D, discussion vote on the certificate of compliance lot line adjustments of the well 9 property. Same thing right now, we're waiting on an appraisal still, like a finished appraisal. Once we have that appraisal, then there'll be some other discussion, negotiation with the
That's the,
owners.
That's correct.
No, it's still
that's not,
That's really D and E.
D and E. And so then 13E, discussion vote on property appraisal, acquisition, development of additional booster and tank site. Those have kind of been all tied together. And so the well 9 property, the booster tank site, so the D and E are kind of tied together at this point, and once we're at a certain point with that, would be able to go into escrow together, but right now they're still under negotiation.
Should we join those line items?
Can we join those line items, Dee? I don't see why not.
Yeah, we're dealing with the same people, so certainly we can do that.
Okay. So we'll do that on the agenda for next time. 13F, municipal service review, the MSR, where are we at with that?
Yeah, we got everything done and we're waiting for, well, Tom is going to prepare a document for LAFCO that will urge them to approve the exemption that we're proposing, which is called a common sense exemption. And the common sense exemption is one that that really was put forward regarding, what this project really is. The sphere of influence, does not, nothing is built or a shovel of dirt is turned by changing the sphere of influence boundary. It's not a construction project and therefore not subject to the normal processes of CEQA regarding habitat and everything else. Those come into play when we start going for construction. And so that will happen as we make our application for construction funding. And of course, we've got to annex the property as well. So, right
That
now,
letter probably needs to wait. It would probably be part of this proposal that would be part of this contract that is either going to be with you or with us, correct?
yeah, yes, either
With
way,
Tom Watson.
the district, correct. So that's coming
So
up.
we need,
Yeah, he's ready
Okay.
to.
and then once we have that, then it's going to be in LAFCO's lap as far as whether they're okay with that or not.
That's right. Whether or not they're familiar with it, and I think I mentioned at the last meeting, Tom is a consultant for the county of San Bernardino, and they employ the common sense exemption quite often on projects that don't involve any construction. And so he's going to write kind of a bit of a summary for our county LAFCO and explain what that is, and then propose that we use it.
Okay, any other questions on 13F? All right, 13G is tabled. That's the MOU. That is gonna happen at the very end of our timeline, which still hasn't been approved yet, so that's on hold. Item H, discussion vote on Lake of the Woods projects and consolidation. I see Mary here from Lake of the Woods. Are you going to give us a update on where we're at with that?
Joan?
Oh, and Joan is sitting right here. Duh.
Joan will give us an update.
Okay, on the phase 2 project, we got a letter, an email today from the county approving everything that has been done on the paving on the roads. And so we are gonna do our final walkthrough and get ready to close out that project. The phase 3 project, there's nothing new. Well 4 is online. All the samples are coming back for iron and manganese as being non-detect. The blending station, the samples so far in September were 3.1. The last fluorides for well 2 was a 1.6, but with an overall average of 0.95. The wells that basically stayed the same in their level except for 4 and 6. They dropped 8.2 feet and 6 feet respectively. But overall, our aquifer levels are up anywhere from 35 to 57 feet. And since January of 23, they're up a total of 28 feet. That's it. Any questions?
Yes, there was a discussion with, Dee and both engineers about what we thought we were going to do in terms of where the pipeline would go to, whether we would go to the tank, the north tank, and then to the blending station, or what was the result of that conversation?
Our recommendation is, that we need it to go to the blending station. If he wants to send it to North Tanks as well, that could also be considered. But there was more research that Dee had to do to figure out how he was gonna make it all happen.
So basically, we haven't gotten together yet with the two engineers and,
Oh, I thought you did, okay.
Our engineer was there on that meeting, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So Dee, have you gotten any further on your, looking at that to see where the pipeline, if we would be able to go to, I know you wanted to go to the north tank and then the blending station. They are just want to make sure that we're going to the blending station somehow. So, are you any further along on deciding how that might happen?
Well, yeah, we haven't, done nothing new. We are going to go to the blending station. We go right by it with a pipeline to the north tanks. And then the north tanks, everything goes there, and then everything's fed by gravity from there. Nothing will change in the system, because these wells now operate against the head in those tanks. And so, and the booster pumps at the blending station. So, what we endeavor to do is not to change anything, and then to be able to give the blending station a supply of water that would be good for use for blending, and then any additional water that's needed for Lake of the Woods then would be fed through the north tanks, because that's a good control. That's how we control our booster pumping stations, by the level in the tank. And also, that's also how we control surges in the line. And so, so we're going to go to the tanks. That's a pretty standard operation. And then taking a side feed to the blending station will be added. The only thing that we haven't decided yet is the best route to take to the tanks. And so as we move towards Lake of the Woods, we're getting down there. We'll need to decide, what is in the ground, or in the road, what's in the road. For both those routes, we prefer a shorter route. It's cheaper, but if there are too many utilities in that route, then we'll have to go up and around.
Okay, thank you, Dee. Any other questions for Lake of the Woods? Okay, and item I, there's no claim or payout discussion right now unless Carlos has something, because that's gonna happen next week.
I don't
Anything
got
that we
nothing.
need? Okay, so hearing nothing else, if there's no other questions or discussion, I'm gonna move on to item 14. Okay, item 14, discussion vote update on FPPD meter replacement projects and emergency well supply project. 14A, discussion vote update on well number 7.
Okay, well, Curtis is releasing Unified to do that work. And so that'll be underway as soon as they can schedule it.
Do we have any idea when that will be?
No, not right now, but I will update you as soon as I get a date from Unified when they can mobilize.
Okay.
Okay, and that'll be the capping and the fence,
Right.
or the abandonment / capping and the fence.
and taking possession of the materials that we need.
And the
So,
position of materials, and we're double checking to make
got the
sure.
shop cleared out already,
Okay,
to put everything in there when we're ready.
Okay, 14B, discussion about update on meter replacement.
Johnny, did you indicate that you had received the new meters, the additional meters?
Well, we received the 1-inch district meters that I ordered about the same time Bruff ordered the ones that they were missing. So we got the 1-inch, but not the 3/4. So I would imagine they're gonna be getting theirs soon. I had an unofficial talk with the Superintendent Raul, that ran the meter project. Just asked him if he had any updates, if he'd heard anything in Bruff, and he said he had not yet. So, but he's still, they're ready to finish it when they get their meters, so.
Okay, and there's some discussion, but does not need to be this evening on how we place the meters that we bought outside of the project, whether that becomes an asset with the meters of the project or whether that becomes an expense. And so that'll be something that we need to think about as we move forward, because we'll need to let Deborah know so that she can adjust that correctly, but I don't think it has to happen tonight.
I thought about that. Maybe we should ask Scott, the auditor, what he thinks about that, because it's really, he's the one that understands it all. I mean, boils it down at the end of the audit, so.
Right, so, so I think probably when we do our financial,
That's a
our
good time to address it.
ad hoc, that would be a good time to address it, since we'll probably need to talk to, the auditors anyway. It's not Scott anymore, right?
I said Scott, but.
No, he's back.
Oh, he's back, okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Okay, so I guess it will be Scott, and we could discuss some of that at that point, because we still need to discuss some other, things with him as far as getting all the audit material to him, so. Okay, so that's fine. 14C, discussion vote on claims and payouts. Oscar, I don't believe we have anything right now, do we?
We don't have anything on claims, just getting with Tiffany so we can get that additional information from that invoice. So we could include it in this next claim.
Okay, and 14D, we did pay, we have 2 huge checks. So we'll be,
So the bridge loan will be paid back, and then once we receive progress payment from Unified or from Bruff.
We have 2 from Bruff that are waiting
Oh, we have
for
two
the
from,
bridge loan.
yeah, so once they have receipt of our checks, we will take out another bridge loan to pay the progress payments for Bruff.
Probably
Okay,
2 weeks, right?
I'll be checking in with our admin to follow up once the checks get cleared and let you guys know so that we can submit another draw request for the other progress payments to Bruff.
Sounds good.
great, thank you. Any other questions, discussion on anything under 14? Okay, moving on to item 15, discussion vote on pipeline replacement project. 15A, engineering and design. I don't believe that has budged any. We're still at the where we were at the 95%. Is that correct, Dee?
That's
And
correct.
nothing from Jesse yet?
Nothing from Jesse yet.
Okay, so that's currently sitting over with the state being reviewed. And 15B, the project application, I believe everything is in for that, but we're just on a hold with that currently until things are approved.
Yeah,
Okay,
So how do we follow up on that, Carlos? How does that work?
you really don't. I mean, the review process takes, as long as it takes 6 to 9 months, whatever. And if they have any questions or concerns as to anything missing, then they'll reach out and say, hey, we're missing this. I mean, we can say, hey, how's the review process going every now and then, but I mean, there's really nothing we can do to speed it up.
So we would ask that in our state update meeting with Ruben.
Yeah, we can keep asking that every month. Hey, how's the review process going? Just to keep it, in their head, in their train of thought. That way
Right.
they don't forget about it.
Yeah, and that
you might wanna do the same thing with Jesse with reviewing the plans to.
Yeah, well, yeah, I
And
plan
just-
to do.
Just to let
yeah.
you guys know that on another project, plans and specs were submitted about 3 months ago and they still haven't reviewed them, so that's how long DDW takes.
Yeah, I know. I just. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that all we need?
I believe that's, well, no, the rate study.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I think that's not
That's on.
Oscar, that's, well, actually, in the
That-
standby fee assessment, that's,
It was Carlos. The rate study was Carlos.
I know, I'm saying that's not Oscar, so
Yeah,
Oscar could potentially,
That's me for both of those.
yeah, so
Have a good night,
Oscar, if you
Oscar.
wanna go, thank you for everything and
Good
have a
night.
good weekend. And, we will move on, if there are no other questions, to item 16, discussion vote on the rate study. Or on a rate study.
Nothing new to discuss as of now. We did you guys submit the TA request?
No, I sent you an email asking, because I made those changes and I sent you a message asking what you wanted me to do next with it, but you didn't reply.
I thought I had sent you something, but yeah, just go ahead and submit it. Just put a date on it and submit it, because it's better that comes from you than from us.
Who am I submitting it to?
There's an email on the actual request that tells you where to send it to.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions, discussion on that? Item 17, discussion vote on standby fee assessments.
Do you want to start, Carlos, or you want me to?
You go ahead.
Okay, Carlos and I met with Greg last week, I think it was last week. We were asking more information on the spreadsheet. Unfortunately, I have to share it from my other computer because I don't have Excel here. So I'm gonna put it up and run back and forth. So you can get an idea. Greg wants you guys to start looking at what you want to charge for the standby.
$8 million.
At least $100.
Yeah,
Yeah, because this whole assessment fee was kind of crazy to begin with, because you figured that they're gonna do an assessment and give you an idea of what to charge, and pretty much he came up and said, well, the district has to decide what they want to charge.
well, as long as they can defend what the decision is from the district, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, he
Good.
says you guys can decide what you want to charge, but you guys got to take into consideration what do you think will pass the Prop 218.
It's a balance of what you want to bring in for revenue and what you think that people will be willing to, like Carlos said on the Prop 218. I don't know how to make it bigger from my side. So,
So we just don't get crazy with it.
yeah, obviously don't get crazy. So there's about 1,248 parcels that will be charged the standby fee. And he's showing on this 3 ways, I know you can't see it, 3 ways to look at it. Whether you want to charge a percentage of the district's fixed costs. Those fixed costs came from our last rate study. So that's where he got that number. You can just set a flat amount per parcel.
If the example is $100.
Or you can set a target amount of how much you want to take in for revenue. So right now on his example, these 3 numbers are about the same. So if you wanted to bring 10% of the total fixed costs in, Your annual assessment would be $99.10 per parcel. That's for 10% of the fixed cost. You can charge a flat rate of $100. And annually, that would bring in $124,800. Or you can say, we want to bring in $100,000 a year and then divide that out. And the annual assessment would be $80.13. So you have to decide how you want to look at it and play with the numbers. These numbers can change. So I can go to my computer and put 20% in. I can put $200 in and I can do 200,000. I can change it so you could kind of
You
see.
can play with it.
Yeah, you could play with
Well,
it.
I mean, I think we need to be reasonable because the problem is, I mean, even though we've never raised it since the sixties, so this is, you know,
I'm personally feeling like this,
the $100.
yeah, the $100 or the 99.10, the 10%, or even the $100,000, it's not that much different. I mean, it's $24,000, $25,000 off if you charge $80.13.
What's that?
But that's gonna require.
We
some
need
time.
to look at the budget because we are not
So-
covering our expenses right now.
Just so you know, to break it down, at the $100 standby fee, annually, that'll bring in about $8,500 a month, if you were gonna divide it out. It's not
And we
enough
transferred 25,000
to
or
make up the
20,000
deficit.
for 1 month to be able to pay payroll this month.
And then
Yeah,
what
they
Greg
weren't
was,
just payroll, there was other bills that are unusual too, right?
Some,
Yeah, so.
but what Greg was
but
saying
we've
is,
been having that every
keep in
month.
mind that the standby fee is coming before your rate study. So you're gonna set revenue by your standby fee. And it's gonna affect how much you're gonna raise rates on your rate study, because this is gonna bring in more revenue. So
If
they're
we do
gonna
both,
kind
it's
of
gonna
work
be a-
together, but this has to come first.
I like the way that works too, because that's gonna be less of a shocker, because it's once a year taxes on an empty lot. Then we could figure out on the rate study how much we have to charge to make up the difference, so.
Yeah, so the
think we're
higher the
not-
standby fee, the lower your
Right,
rate.
and I
is.
think we're better off charging a little bit more on the standby fee, considering that people have not paid more than $5 for the last umpteen years. Whereas whereas the whole town having to, you know, we're already at, what are we at?
For,
80 or 70 something dollars is the average before the consumption.
oh, the base rate?
Yeah,
January, it's gonna go up to 72 and change.
72, and then this is our last,
It's the last
Year.
one.
so.
But that's why we're working with Carlos on the rate study, so that the new rate would be in place January 1st, 2026. This will come into effect December 2025, when we start actually billing. So they're gonna come
Right,
in
but we're
effect right
gonna
next
really
to each
need
other.
to seriously look at this, because if
Right.
we go too low, we're gonna have trouble doing it again. And
Yeah.
right now,
It's gonna
it's
take
a
a long
problem.
time. You don't want to redo this.
No,
Came out. So just so you know, if you charged, for example, $200 annually for the parcel, it would bring about 250,000 annually, which comes out to maybe 17,000 a month if you averaged
It'd
it
be
out.
nice if
So that's the difference.
if our expert were to make recommendations, it seems to make a lot more sense than us just playing around with what we want out of it. I mean, I thought that's what rate study people did, was they,
It was, yeah, but he said that because our rate study wasn't thorough enough to talk about where revenue is allocated. That's why it ultimately ended up being on the board. So it was a failure by the rate study. So
yeah,
because it wasn't allocated, the board has to set it. Now, he's working right now on his engineer's report. And he said he would present that. He's gonna shoot for the regular meeting in November. So he can kind of, go over more of the details and how it all works out. But he wants you guys to really start thinking about this and kind of have a draft number in there. Because if you keep in mind, we're going and sending letters probably January.
well, the last We didn't just transfer 20,000 this month to cover payroll. We transferred money last month as well to cover payroll. How much?
Yeah, you keep saying payroll, isn't a lot of that attorney's fees and stuff that we've been having? to
Well, it's
deal
been
with?
the-
It's not
I mean-
It's to cover, right, but.
Right, but
we're
we, I
covering all
mean, we've
kinds
been
of
having
stuff, but
over $10,000 a month in attorney fees because of this
Yeah, that's
litigation.
That's
a combination of all of it.
you
That's
know.
gonna continue right now. I don't know how long that's
Yeah,
gonna continue.
But I'm just saying, it's not.
And we may not get reimbursed for that.
Well, that we can't worry about, but, I mean, I don't think, you know, I mean, we have to be reasonable. Lisa, we have to be reasonable,
Yeah,
because otherwise it's not gonna pass, because then they're all gonna protest and you're not, and it's not gonna pass and we're gonna get nothing. And then we're really gonna be in a pinch.
Yeah.
Right, but we also, I mean, I think that's where it becomes important that they can justify raising that rate. It's been $5, you know. It's
I would
been
think that there's,
$5
I
for
would
a
think
very,
that there's
very
some
long
type
time.
of message we could take from the fact that when he sent this, he sent us these three ideas. Like, this is maybe general idea where it's a starting point.
What's the
So we
three?
wouldn't want to double it, I would not imagine.
What's the three?
It's either 10% or flat $100, or, we set it at what we want, which is $100,000 revenue, and then it's $80.13.
Basically how you wanna present it when you propose the increase.
Maybe we should, when we have a full board here
Yeah,
next meeting.
Yeah, and you're not making the decision tonight, but it's good to kick it around, do a little arguing now so that come next month when you're talking to Greg, at the meeting, you'll have like a base to talk to him about, like, well, we're thinking this, or we're.
and can we, did he go out and do any research for us on what the standby fees are in
He
other
said
comparable
it's
areas?
It's just like rate studies, it's, water rates, you're comparing apples to oranges.
I know we
You just
are,
can't
but
do it.
but it would be nice to have some comps. Because I know that you're always comparing apples to oranges, but we still are comparing nothing right now to.
Right, and I did ask him about it, like I said, it's gonna be different. I did ask him about what role
That's
he'll
what
be
we're paying.
playing in the public hearings.
Yeah.
And his main answer was to keep in mind, he's on a fixed budget based on his contract with self-help. So he's gonna have to see what fits into that flat budget.
Well,
But-
I would assume
I'll have him
$100
on the meeting next month.
to average people, $100 more a year in your taxes isn't that shocking.
It's not.
$200
It's not every person
is-
too.
well,
We're
I
talking
understand,
about
but
people who
$200
own
is shocking.
empty lots.
And the people that have 20 lots that should complain the least typically complain the most
Of course they will,
because they get hit for even more, so we gotta definitely.
but we also have to look at the.
And what we don't make up with standby fee, we're gonna make up in the rate increase.
Well, I
They're
hope,
gonna do.
I hope not,
balance each other.
because I think that we can't just keep going crazy on rate increases.
I don't think it's crazy. We've
I-
already passed up 2 increases that we could have done.
Yeah.
It's not going crazy by only doing 3 out of 5.
No, but we're talking about people who have empty lots versus people who
Well, we all understand that, but,
are paying monthly.
okay, so let's try to plan for when we have the full board here in person, then we can talk about it.
Yeah, and then you'll be able to ask Greg your questions in November, and he'll present his engineering report.
Okay.
Just if I can just, as somebody kind of sitting out here on the edge, thinking about this, what was the annual fee before? I mean, what is the current annual fee for these standby?
$5 a
$5
year,
So,
which is ridiculous.
yes, but
That's
here's my thought. Just to think about, and that is, Water District increases standby fee by 20 times. And, and so, that's 20 times what's been charged before. And, you know, that's a big increase when you look at percents. Maybe you want to, you know, strike something that's maybe not so controversial. Not that it's a big amount of money, but somebody's going to say, gee whiz, look at this, you know, it was $5, now it's 20 times that. Look, what's the water district doing? And, you know, you certainly have to think about it, how you want to couch that, and maybe take a more moderate step and then take another step. You know, because it is a big, when you look at the 5 to the 100, it's a big jump. Although,
That's why I'm saying, well, 100 is a big jump, but it can be explained by the fact that people have not been paying into the system and the cost of the system for 50 years. And that's why the cost is going up so much.
To us, that makes total sense, but what G's saying is also true, which is why we gotta prepare. for
Right,
the
but that's why-
screening,
but that's
because it
why
really is.
That's why I'm saying not, she's saying more than 100, and that's why I'm saying I don't believe we could go more than 100. I don't think so. I don't think it's gonna pass. I think you're gonna, I think people are gonna scream anyways.
Well,
probably,
they need to know that we're gonna make up for it by raising their rates.
Well, we can try,
And
but some
that's a
people
lot
that own
worse.
lots that don't even live here. They own lots, like several people I've dealt with recently, they don't live here, they don't care about the water rates, because they don't have any houses here, they just have empty lots with water services on them, so they're gonna be more concerned with their tax bill than they are with the water bill, so but nobody's gonna be happy anyway, we're never in the right, we're always wrong, so we just have to not go crazy with this and hope that we can get it to pass.
yeah. And I would, you know, if there's a way to maybe put together what might be an estimate of the cost to the district to be dealing with these 1,200 vacant lots, come up with some costs that you can allocate to that justify that increase. And
Well, that's why I like that idea of about 10% of the fixed costs.
Just keep in mind that the number for the fixed costs came from 2022
Mhm.
rate studies, so it's probably a little bit outdated. That's, you know.
And he's
before
made it clear
major
that that rate
inflation.
study was not a good rate study by any means. We got what we paid for, basically, on that rate study.
Yeah, it is one way to look at it. We have that option. I'm just saying that fixed cost is an older number. It's a pre-inflation number.
That's a pre-inflation number.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking
And it's
about,
a pre-failing well number, and it's a lot of stuff. Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
thinking about the politics of it. And
Yeah.
you definitely want
we
to have a
don't-
reason.
Politics are gonna be worse if we're owned by another company.
Yeah, and the guy that's doing the assessment, he did mention what Dee just mentioned earlier, but he mentioned that, you know, when people look at this, they're gonna see, wow, it's a 2,000% increase on this fee. But you guys just gotta be ready to explain that, yeah, it looks like it's big, you know, 2,000% interest, but that's because the number was so small to begin with. So you just gotta be ready to justify and explain
On the spreadsheet.
what's going on.
It's like 1,800% increase. It was the bottom number on that spreadsheet.
Okay, well, we'll try to just toss this around and then the next meeting, hopefully everybody will be here and we can discuss it further.
Okay.
Yeah, oh, yeah, go ahead, John.
When you said 1,248 parcels, these are vacant lots that don't have meters,
Unimproved.
don't have well
But
service.
they have water. They have,
There's
They do
water
not-
pipe going in the street.
And
They-
sorry to interrupt, but I'm gonna have to jump off because I got another meeting. I will talk to
all
you
right,
guys
thank you, Carlo.
later.
Carlo?
Have a good one. Bye.
Currently includes lots that have been locked off for 6 months or more.
And it also
And we
currently
have to see
includes
if
some
that's
lots that are
gonna
weird
continue or not.
lots, so there's people that when they get wind of this, like myself, are gonna
Yeah, some people are gonna be joining their lots
Yeah.
if they didn't.
But it's not gonna be a lot, because some of them are just, some of them are not even lots that have a pipe in front of them. I mean, there's still lots that are, we don't separate our lots like Lake of the Woods does, where there's, what do you call it? You call it
Dry lots.
dry lots
We
and
have
wet lots.
dry lots, and people, we have a whole bunch of lots that are not part of anything. They don't get charged anything. Vacant lots that will never have any water.
So I mean, that might be another thing that we need to look at, because we
You
haven't.
did.
And he had me
Yeah.
look over the map and go out and research and see if it's something that could be provided water.
And if
So-
they can't, they won't be charged a standby fee.
But then doesn't that drop people that are currently paying $5 off?
Not that, it was a handful, like literally less than. half
Like the
a dozen.
county owns like 5 lots up off of Roosevelt. And we could provide those 5 lots water from here. I mean, they're gonna have to do road work, but it's no different than the Burton End property that was trying to build stuff. The board didn't let them, but I mean, you can build on the side of a hill if there's water nearby, so that's what I was looking at. to make
My
sure.
question is, on these vacant lots, what is the water company providing to them in any way of a service or anything?
The ability to buy into the system when they do use that lot.
But they have to pay to buy into the system at that time.
But the whole thing goes together. The guy was explaining that, Tiffany could probably explain it better, but somebody sitting back and waiting while everybody else puts all the money in and keeps all the system going, keeps it up going, and then they come in and they go, oh, okay, well, now I want to build a house here with everything everybody else has paid for already. And because the will serve does not cover the historical having to get things there, because we have to take into consideration the size of piping to run past those lots in case they do build them. So it is factored in, even though they may think they're getting nothing out of it. But eventually, the only reason they own them properties is because they're hoping someday they're gonna build on it. And lately, we've had several people come out of the woodworks that have owned their properties for 20+ years, and now they're wanting to research putting in water services.
And have you been doing an increase in your hookup or whatever it is you call that fee?
Is the will serve letter?
The will serve, what somebody has to pay in order to connect?
Yeah, that's the will serve letter, yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, not for a number of years, we have not.
but you.
But we're
say
also we're not issuing will serve letters right now until we get the Lake of the Woods project, another well in, so we haven't had a reason to increase that because we're not providing any new will serve letters anyway.
So I remember something about when we first talked about the annexation back in 2013 or 2016 or whatever it was. And there was a concern at that time that the residents of Lake of the Woods were, wait a second, you've got a hookup fee of $5,000 or whatever. Are we gonna have to pay that? And the explanation was no, because as part of the annexation, you're already part of the system. Therefore, you wouldn't have to pay a hookup fee to something that you're already hooked into.
Actually, at the time, the only thing that was said about that was that if they already had it, they would be part of it. They're not gonna get free will serves just because.
No, the ones that are
But the ones
already,
that have it are gonna get it. just
right,
like
the ones that have it
here.
are gonna get it. If you don't currently have it, if you're not on the meter, you're not on the system,
Exactly.
and you wanna get into the system, yeah, you're gonna have to pay,
Yeah.
do the will serve and do a hookup fee.
Yep.
And that's where over the years for Lake of the Woods, they increased the amount of the hookup fee to cover these, gee, you haven't been paying in all along to help cover those kind of.
Well, but part of the problem is that you can't rely on, will serve letters as a source of revenue because, I mean, we went 10 years with none.
Mhm.
And, so that ain't gonna work. You can't just let people sit back and wait until they eventually decide to, and most people now are selling their properties and letting other people buy them. And then they want the will serve letter, but I have to.
Right, and of these 1,248 parcels, I know we've got a ton of them, but they're on the side of a cliff. There's no way anybody's gonna be able to build on it, whatever. So of these 1,248, how many of them are realistically buildable?
All of them. I mean, if you look right across the valley right here, there's a whole bunch of houses that are right on a cliff, and most of these are not on a cliff. But if you look
Okay.
across the valley, they they built them all over the mountains. I mean, almost every house up here has had to have earthwork done to be able to put a house there.
Okay.
So it's really gonna be based off of if we have any kind of water line anywhere near there that can provide the water.
Got it. Okay.
There's some that we can't. The pipe is too low, too small. They would have to do a mainline extension, which is what we made the last person do on Pine Canyon.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions, discussion? Okay, we've tabled item 18. Do we want to take a recess?
No.
Okay, so moving on to new business. Discussion vote on 2025 rate increase letter, item 19.
It's in your book.
And that's separate from what we have to talk about next time?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
this
it's
is
just the
just
regular.
the regular scheduled January
Cool.
increase. So if the board approves it, Donnie, we can send it to
Yeah.
your.
I don't think there's any,
Place on Brookdale, yeah.
yeah, well, in my opinion, you know, this is part of the rate study and where we're at, we have no choice but to approve this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was already approved when we,
Right, but what I'm saying is,
yeah, I get it.
We've already put it out there. We said we were holding off during the COVID, time. We did a lot less because people were struggling.
which was a big mistake, but
Right.
What will be the base rate in 2000?
3%,
72,
It's like 3%.
74 it's a 3% increase.
it's going from 70.62 up to $72.74. Yeah,
Yeah.
for a 3/4 meter. So, I mean, you're only talking
And
about
the
a couple dollars,
water consumption is not changing at all.
right? And that was,
So I will-
and that was another big mistake, so, I mean, that's gotta be considered in the future, when we're looking at a rate study is really the water consumption is where you wanna have some rate increases, because then people will either
Will conserve.
will conserve water and at the same time, or they'll pay for it. So, so anyways, I make a motion, that we, approve the,
The ops, it's already.
the district's Prop 218 increase that's due on January 1st, 2025, to the new water rates,
The pre-approved.
the pre-approved.
So, yeah, we're
Yeah.
adopting it. basically.
Yeah, we're adopting.
I second it.
Okay, any other discussion on that motion? Okay, roll call directors, Director Gibson,
Aye.
Director Nyman.
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
no, the aye?
Yes.
Okay, Director Schoenberg is aye. And, Director Garcia is absent, so that motion passes. The, rates will increase the 3% we had already previously were, discussed and approved when people voted on this as part of that 5-year plan. And that is, 4-0-0 with 1 absent. Okay, item 20, discussion vote on meeting dates for November and December. We cannot meet on our regular dates due to the holidays, or we can, but that might be crazy.
So normally it would have been on November 28th, Thanksgiving, Thursday.
So we have the 14th, and so we need to do Thanksgiving's when?
28th.
Historically.
So the
we bumped it back.
21st. Yeah.
Historically, we bumped it back the Thursday prior.
Right, so we'll do the 21st, which is the same day as our state update meeting.
21st, and then Christmas would be the
And then
19th.
Christmas would be the 19th.
And then just move to December 19th.
So I propose that we, change the second, regular board meeting, to this, for the end of the year, to November 21st and December 19th.
I second it.
So, I mean, finally, Issue is that now we have this earlier meetings, now we have like these 2 meetings in a,
We do that every year, Lisa.
I know,
We do it every year.
but we used to meet at 6 PM and a little more time in between.
Well. Okay, the
Okay,
motion's
there's a
on the
motion
floor.
and a second on the floor. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call directors. Director Gibson,
Aye.
Director Nyman.
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Schoenberg.
Yes.
Is a, is a not that willing aye. And, Director Garcia is absent, so that motion passes 4-0-0, 1 absent. So our dates for the state meeting will be the same as the date for the state update meeting, the standing committee. So that will be the 21st of November and the 19th of December. And there will be nothing on the 28th or the 26th. Okay, moving on. Item 21, review and approve meeting minutes for 9/10/2024 AP Standing Committee, 9/12/2024 regular meeting, 9/24/24 AP Standing Committee, 9/26/2024 regular state planning and project meetings.
I make a motion, that we approve, meeting, accounts payable standing committee minutes, Tuesday, September 10th, 2024. Regular meeting minutes, Thursday, September 12th, 2024. Accounts payable standing committee, Tuesday meetings, September 24th, 2024. Regular meeting minutes for Thursday, September 26th, 2024. With any of the amendments that were sent to Tiffany previous to and after the meeting, as well as any additional for typos or other errors that we may not have caught or that may need to be corrected.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion to that motion? Okay, roll call directors. Director Gibson.
Aye.
Director Nyman.
Aye.
Director Kelling.
Aye.
And Director Schoenberg is an aye. Director Garcia is absent. Those meeting minutes pass 4-0-0 with 1 absent. Okay, and last but not least, do we have anything that needs to be added to the agenda that we have not already discussed? No. Okay, so then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? All right, roll call directors. Director Gibson.
Aye.
Director Nyman.
Aye.
Director Kelling.
Aye.
Director Schoenberg is an aye. We will be adjourning this meeting. Director Garcia is absent. This meeting will adjourn at 5:45 PM. That motion passes 4-0-0 with 1 absent.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dee.
Good night. Yeah, have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night,
There you go.